Salam and greetings. Welcome back to Studio Rags. This is your online class, and today we are learning another interesting, very creative, and amazing textile craft of Chunri dyeing. Chunri refers to a scarf or a headcloth which is used by women in Pakistan and India, Bangladesh, and it literally means to pick or pluck the fabric selectively to make a specific pattern. It is also known as bandhani in India, which again means to tie selectively. Chunri is quite similar to the Japanese konoka shibori, where you pick small portions of the fabric to make complex patterns. Pakistan has many interesting and creative regional textiles or ethnic textiles like the quilted rulli, woven susi, or block printed ajrak, but Chunri is personally my favorite. Chunri has a very long history. It dates back to about 5,000 years from now, and the specimens of Chunri has been seen in the famous Indus Valley civilization excavations and the Indian Ajanta cave paintings. You can also see Chunri in the garments of the royal family of Mughal emperors in the famous miniature paintings. So Chunri has always been very important in the history of subcontinent, and it's always trending, it's always in fashion. Everyone just simply falls in love with the beauty of the Chunri. Chunri needs a high level of craftsmanship. Sometimes the 2 meters of Chunri fabric can have up to more than 1,000 knots. So with this you can understand the level of the craftsmanship of the artisans and the hard work that goes into the Chunri. But in today's class we are going to make a relatively easy version of the Chunri. You can make Chunri on cotton, linen, silk, rayon, chiffon, but for today's class I'm using 100% cotton voile fabric. It's a lightweight fabric, so let's see how we do it. So select your motif and make a layout. Making a layout is also important, so you can design your motif towards the borders or in the center or along the length, whatever you like to do. So in this simple layout, we are making a border and we are doing some tying on along the length of the fabric. So it is best to iron your fabric to take out all the creases and then fold it double neatly, and then trace all the design and mark all the points where you're going to do the tying of the fabric. Then the double layer should be secured with the safety pin, so while you're tying the layers don't slip around, and it's easy for you to keep the fabric in control. And in the border I have taken a very small portion or pinched a very small fabric, and you wind the thread around it, and then you make a couple of loop knots and pull the thread. But don't break the thread. You can start from one end and keep going until the whole pattern is finished. So you don't have to cut the thread again and again. After the border, now I'm doing the center portion of the fabric, and it is the bigger size knots because I want to create a variety, and that's going to look interesting, but the pattern is pretty much open and loose in the center. And then I would do the along the lengths and do tight knotting with the relatively longer, like 3 cm 4 cm of the fabric, and in this way you can finish the whole pattern. You would see in the photos the variety of the knots that I've used in the fabric. So remember, you should tie your Chunri on a double layer, so you don't have to do a lot of work. And this is going to take you like an hour and a half at least, definitely. You can make your Chunri in your next trial. You can make your Chunri on silk or chiffon as well, but for this beginner's class, a cotton or a voile fabric is the best because you will have an easy control. You would notice that I have tied a bigger band on one side of the fabric here because I want to make a bold border on one side. So after the fabric is all tied and finished, then we're going to proceed with the dyeing. The dyeing can have two different processes. One is the hot dyeing or the pot dyeing, where you add the dye powder into the boiling water, and then you cook or boil your fabric for 10 to 15 minutes, and depending on the number of colors that you use for the chunri dyeing. But for this one, I am using cold dyeing method. Cold dyes or the direct dyes, they are easy to use for beginners, and they also are less messy, so I like doing that. So it has two components. The first one is the soda ash, which is the dye fixing agent. So pour sufficient amount of soda ash on the fabric, and then work the soda ash into the fabric by pressing it down, and then set aside for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, it's going to be ready. The fibers would be open to take the dye. Then start adding the dye. Here I am using a turquoise, and the base is green, but you can also do it on the white base. I just thought to do it on a colored base to have some more colors in my chunri. So I added turquoise and then navy blue over it, and I used the terra red or the terracotta on the borders. Add sufficient dye, push the dye into the fabric with your hands, then cover it and leave it for 24 hours. After the 24 hours, rinse your fabric clean without any detergent in normal water, and wring it and dry it. After it is 100% dry, then you can open the threads. So to open the threads, just pull the fabric from left to right, or stretch the fabric from side to side, and the thread is gonna come off very easily. If some of the threads or knots they don't come off, then carefully cut the thread partially and then stretch the fabric, and it will be all done. Remove the extra threads from it, and then open the layer, and voila, you have created your first chunri. Well done. You can appreciate the puckering and the design and the beautiful scallops on the fabric. As I mentioned, this is an open design. It didn't end up in the neat pattern because the tying that I had done on the borders was fairly open. If you want to create an exact pattern, then you should do very tight tying, means don't leave any spaces in between. So jump online and look for me on Eventbrite, or try booking and order your full kit. I'm going to send you all the instructions, fabric, dyes and chemicals, and the full recipe how to prepare your dyes. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something. If you find it useful, please like, subscribe and share it with your friends and help me grow. And in the end, I want to thank all my subscribers. Thank you for all the love. Thank you very much for staying with me, and see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.